What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Jimmy Smith, Ryan Moody, our MMA show, here to talk about probably the most requested, uncovered UFC 248 topic. Now, if you guys don't know, we always cover the main event. Sometimes we'll sneak in a prelim, but a lot of people wanted to know your thoughts, Jimmy, on Sean O'Malley, Jose Quintos. They're going to get mine as well as I butcher their names. As always, here's the thing. Sean O'Malley came on the scene, to me, really big pop, really a lot of arrogance, if you will. I remember this guy was out getting a face tattoo that, the day before, I believe, his Contender Series fight. I thought the real test was Andrei Sukumtov. I really did. And he showed a lot in that fight. We're going to leave his drug suspension as his drug suspension. It is what it is, and it's over now. That's if we were going to talk about it, we would have talked about it then. I was really impressed with the person that I saw in the ring on March 7th. He looked stronger, leaner, more controlled. He definitely came in and executed a game plan in a time where, listen, this guy's pretty young, 25 years old. You got 2 years off from the sport you want. You got a little bit of fame, a little bit of money. It's easy to have things go the wrong way. So really impressed with the performance he put on. And dare I say, if this wasn't a fight card that was stolen by the story of whatever Izzy and Yol did, but Wheelie and Joanna, I think this probably would have been one of the bigger takeaways from the card we saw.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look at the knockdown, it was a cover of a hook and then a hook of his own, right in succession. Bing, bing. Certain people, Conor McGregor being one of them, I would say, who else? Bernard Hopkins, you can see them seeing their opponent's offense. Pernell Whitaker, I'm not putting him on that level, but what I'm saying is you can see him reading his opponent's offense and then using his defense and using his own offense. It's not a, I move my head a lot, so I'm hard to hit. I can see the shot coming. I block it or I slip and I counter with my own shot. It's advanced ring intelligence. That's what this guy has. Physical talent for sure, but he's got a good ring IQ, great speed. He can read and react. He can slip and rip a lot better than most fighters. And say what you want about the face tattoos and the attitude and, constant weed smoke and all these things. He knows that he has a limited time in the sport. He has to make as big an impression as he possibly can. And that's what he does. And when you can block an opponent's right hook and then land your own right hook, you have the skill to go with that attitude. So I'm not hating on this kid. I think he can do great things in a tough weight class, but he can do great things.
Agreed. That the hit and not get hit is a critical part of this sport, and he really showed a propensity to do that. Now, to kind of switch gears here, because a lot of people want to know the next fight for him. Very interesting to me in the fact that we've really went through recently and talked about guys that get their own calls, get their own call-outs, get their own fights. Brian Kelleher went out of his way to call him out. Now, I understand there's some bigger names, no disrespect. I understand there's some bigger names. The fans have been rallying behind some names. But I think this brings up an interesting conversation where if you're going to let some fighters dictate their fights, shouldn't you let all of them at least have some type of input? Because I'll tell you right now, I would love to see those two fight.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's better to miss high than miss low. You know what I mean? For your call-outs. It's better to call somebody you're not going to get and not get them rather than call someone low and get them. Right? I mean, you don't want to go for the moon necessarily, but you want to shoot high, and if you don't get it, you don't get it. At least you're showing I'm not afraid of anybody. I'll call anybody out. The problem is, and it can be a good thing. It can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. When you have a performance like he had, people want to see you quickly. He can turn around fast, but they want to see that statement win. They want to see, okay, we saw this. How does he do against some of the big boys? How does he do against some of the ranked guys? Corey Sandhagen's a monster. He really is. Now, the front of his division is kind of muddled, of course, with, Jose Aldo getting a title shot. Not a lot of people think he deserves. Marlon Moraes and Peter Yan are fighting. That's a number one contender fight, but that's an absolute meat grinder. Who knows how they come out of that one? But there's a lot of talent in this division. The problem is somebody like a Jimmy Rivera, for example, is stocky, tough, hard to hit, bulls forward, a tough style to deal with. But he's right now, I think, number 8 in the division. Is it worth that guy? Is it worth leaping up a bit higher to a Corey Sandhagen who's in the top 5 and maybe taking a step back? Those are all the things he has to worry about because it's a talented division 9 up. It really is.
You say he has to worry about. I would also counterpoint you that the UFC has just slight concerns as well when generating these matchups. I mean, let's be honest. Not many times do we talk about a guy off 2 years, coming back on a pay-per-view card, on the prelims, that kind of pulls the attention of everyone. Do you feel like, with that said, they kind of have to play conservative matchmaker because you don't want to put this guy in a bad spot, because if he gets a loss, then everything looks really bad. And this is truthfully one of those guys, I really feel that once you have that first loss, you know, like you said, you come in, you're brash, face tattoos, think all you want about that stuff.
Yeah.
But when you lose and you have all that going for you, it turns really ugly, at least from the fans' perspective, really quick.
Well, anybody who generates emotions, and Sean O'Malley generates emotions, right? That he's trying to. It's just not accidental. He wants you to care. Whenever you're in that situation, like even a Chael Sonnen, anybody like that who generates emotions, when it goes wrong, people cannot wait to pile it on you. They can't see he was never that good. Told you so. That's the attitude. You can't have it both ways. You can't generate strong positive emotions and without generate when you win and not generate strong negative emotions when you lose. You're wagering and gambling every single time. So yeah, there is a little bit of that, but once again, I don't know. Sandhagen, once again, a top 5 guy. Depending how the fight went, I don't think it would be a huge step back for him. Yes, the fans might overreact to him. The fans might start chanting overrated or something like that. I don't think that's fair. I think a loss to a top 5 guy doesn't hurt him that much. What I would worry more about is that 5, 7 to 10 guy. You know what I mean? That doesn't do as much for him. And yet if he loses, it might set him back quite a bit. You got to be a little more careful with those. When you're, I just pulled them up right now. The 8 through 10 is Jimmy Rivera, Cody Garbrandt, Rob Font. That's 8, 9, and 10. Those are tough dudes. And if you stumble against one of those guys, I think there's a bit more risk. There's almost less risk in a Corey Sandhagen, so at least in the top 5. He's not supposed to beat that guy yet. So it's kind of big risk, big reward, medium risk kind of fight. Now, taking on a guy like Jimmy Rivera, who a lot of people see maybe on the downside right now, who is still tough, that might be harder. You know, it's almost like you want to avoid that. You want to go 11 to 15, the back end of the top 15, or kind of throw him against that really tough guy, because those, you know, either the first one's winnable and the second one, if he doesn't win, it doesn't do that much to him. You want to keep him away from those really tough guys who have less of a name.
Man, I would think on that list, Cody Garbrandt has to be one of the easier outs. I mean, this is a guy that's got a testable chin on a 3-fight skid, even though it's against top opponents. That would also have the marquee name value and the face tattoo value. So, you know, you're
right.
you're actually crossing things off as you go. Man, I think if you had to pick one of those names, and I was playing devil's advocate of who are we going to put in here to get the best performance out of him with the best possible results with the less risk, and I think Cody's got to be the guy on that.
Yeah, style-wise, it's a good matchup, but if you lose to Cody Garbrandt, much like we said, or I said, and I think you agreed, about Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje, and Justin Gaethje even said this, if you lose to me, you lose bad. You get laid out, and that's what Conor doesn't want. I happen to agree with him on that particular point, but the thing about Cody Garbrandt is if he does lose to Cody Garbrandt, that's a guy who can put it on you. That's a guy who can knock you out. Now, can he knock, will he knock out Sean O'Malley? I don't know any more than you do, but Jimmy Rivera might out-hustle him and outwork him and take the center of the octagon and make it a more cerebral fight. I think Cody Garbrandt's a more winnable fight, but if Cody Garbrandt wins, it might be that twist your jaw around kind of knockout. That guy can hit.
Well, I guess we will find out in a matter of weeks who he gets to fight and where things all round out. Other than that, we appreciate you guys checking this out, and we will be back very shortly with more commentary.